Good Sunday morning. I'm back in my office. It's time for devotions. Psalm 84. O Lord God of hosts, hear my prayer. Give ear, O God of Jacob, Selah. Behold our shield, O God. Look on the face of your anointed. For a day in your court is better than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of wickedness. For the Lord God is a sun and a shield. The Lord bestows favor and honor. No good thing does he withhold from those who walk uprightly. O Lord of hosts, blessed is the one who trusts in you. People, we were not made to be godless. If we don't know the true God, we'll make our own gods. Deep in our heart, we have this awareness that we need direction, we need purpose, we need a relationship with something bigger than ourselves. God created us for relationship with Him. Inside each of us is a God-shaped void which cannot be filled with anything less than a relationship with God through Jesus Christ. And when we come together to worship, we are filling that God-shaped void. We don't attend worship to squeeze God into our lives. Instead, we come seeking to mold our lives into God's. There can be nothing more exciting than that. Better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked. The psalmist can hardly contain himself. Have you ever felt so excited about worshiping God that you could hardly contain yourself? That's worship. Have you ever been that passionate about worshiping Jesus Christ? That's worship. God uses worship to transform our lives, to heal our wounds, to renew our hope and shape our decisions, provoking change and inspire compassion within us. God, through Jesus Christ, actively seeks relationship with us through worship. Worship is what defines us as God's people. It's only when we are born again through faith in the saving work of Christ that we are truly able to worship God. Jesus said, God is spirit, and his worshipers must worship him in spirit and in truth. When we worship, we practice the highest command Jesus has ever taught us. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, mind. Worship bends our hearts towards God, and it stretches our hands toward each other. This psalm describes an eagerness for relationship with God in worship. My soul yearns, it even faints for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh cry out for the living God. We live in a world filled with people whose hearts and flesh cry out for the living God. Think of the people who drown themselves in alcohol or numb themselves with drugs. Their heart and their flesh cry out. Think of the people who try to find happiness in more stuff. Their hearts and their flesh cry out to God. These people, they're our neighbors, our co-workers, our classmates. They may not even be aware of their need for a relationship with God. So who's going to invite them to experience what it means to have God dwell in their lives? Where are they going to learn that people are most blessed when people are praising God? We're all part of the worship experience. When you sing, whether you sing with a mask on or a mask off, make a joyful noise. Don't lip sync. When we open the altars to pray, don't just drift off. Really pray. And our experience of worship, it begins with a spiritual eagerness and a passion in us. Passionate worship begins with our love for God and our desire to open ourselves to His grace and our eagerness for a relationship with Him. The responsibility for the quality of the worship in our church, just for the record, doesn't depend on me as the pastor, or it doesn't depend on Nicole as the worship leader. What each one of us bring to worship shapes the experience for everyone. Passionate worship begins within each one of us. One way to deepen the experience of worship is for each of us to actively prepare our hearts and our minds before walking into this building. Nothing reinforces corporate worship more than a relationship with God through Christ that's lived out each and every day. Nothing keeps that relationship fresh and exciting more than a vibrant worship experience. Jesus said, I'm the vine, you're the branches. Worship keeps us connected to our source of life. God added to the early church daily, such as were being saved. That happened because worshipers naturally invite those around them to experience what they are experiencing. We all have a role in fostering passionate worship. Sunday mornings, we allocate about an hour for our worship service. This 1 hour at the beginning of the week can change every other hour for the rest of your week. We start today at 10:30. I'll be here to worship Jesus. I hope you will too.